Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Justine. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about my daughter's story and how I found out she had autism. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about some of the signs that we saw early on that indicated that there may be something going on. I'm also going to be talking to you a little bit about some advice and tips for parents who are concerned with their child's development. So Olivine was always a very good baby. From the very beginning, she was easy to soothe, very predictable. Her sleeping habits, she slept through the night really early. I would say probably, I don't know, 9-10 weeks old she was sleeping through the night. I could sit her down and pull out her toys and she would just sit there and she would play with them. She never got into anything. We never had to baby-proof our house ever, which I thought was, looking back, kind of odd. And now I have a 1-year-old and he's like into everything, but she never got into anything. We had a gate up. She never tried to escape. She was just so good, and we would always tell people like, oh, she's just such a good baby, which I think is kind of interesting. And early on there wasn't ever really any concerns. She hit all of her developmental milestones pretty much on time. The only one that she was a little bit delayed in was walking. She did not walk independently until she was about 15, 16 months, but all the other milestones she hit on time. Our first signs that there was something going on, I'm sure there was a lot of other signs, and looking back now I can see those, but our first indicator was at about 2 years old. We noticed that she was not talking as much as she should. We had a little friend come over, one of our friend's sons, who was about 6 weeks younger than Olivine, and he was walking around pointing, saying cat, cat, cat. And I was just so shocked. So they left and I talked to my husband and I was like, Olivine is not talking how she should be. She's not pointing to things in her environment and talking about them. And that really caused me to evaluate kind of everything, kind of put everything into question. And it was always really confusing for us because Olivine has always had words. We could pull out a book and say, what's this? Cat. What's this dog? What does the horse say? So she would respond and answer questions. She would attend to books. Looking back a little bit, I can see now that she didn't respond to her name as she should have been responding to her name. Now that I have my son and I call his name and he turns and he looks, I can see now how she wasn't as responsive as I thought she was. And I think that's common with first-time parents. You just don't have a frame of reference and you just don't know what you should be looking for or what is the bar, I guess, as far as what you should be seeing. Some of the earlier warning signs, she was obsessed with letters and numbers early on. She knew all of her letters by 15, 16 months, all of her numbers, she knew her colors, her shapes, and she was obsessed with them. She loved playing with any toy that had letters. She liked watching any show that was about letters, the sounds of letters, which at the time I was like, oh my gosh, my child's brilliant, because that's amazing. A child who can identify letters and out of order. It wasn't just that she was memorizing them. She actually knew what the letters were. Was pretty cool. Those are just a few of the signs that we saw. There are more signs, and I can go a little bit more in depth if that's something that you guys are interested in. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I can definitely make a video on all of the specific signs, warning signs, red flags, symptoms, whatever you want to call them, from the very beginning, because knowing what I know now, looking back, it's a lot easier to see those signs. I think the hardest thing is coming to terms with the fact that there may be something going on. No parent wants to think that something's going on with their child. And so that was like the biggest thing, coming to terms with the fact that something was going on and seeking help, because it's really scary when your child is not meeting their developmental milestones. It's very, very scary. At about 2 years old, I decided to go to her pediatrician and talk to the doctor about it. They weren't overly concerned, and we had done those developmental milestone checks at like 9 months, 15 months. It's like a checklist, which they're super like vague, and you have no direction, and you're filling it out, and your child's like squealing and crying and doing whatever it is that they're doing, and they're not good. So I talked to the doctor, and they referred us to a state hospital for a developmental pediatrician appointment for speech. And then they also gave us information on our state's early intervention. So I called the developmental pediatrician's office, and our wait time for an appointment was a year. Now, hearing that as a parent with a child who has a developmental issue, time is of the essence, right? That's what everybody tells you. And so hearing that you have to wait a year before you can even see a doctor, talk to a doctor, go over your concerns is outrageous. It's just, I don't even know how that is something that is acceptable. And it's terrifying because you feel so helpless. So I didn't want to take any more time. I made the appointment. I also contacted our early intervention services. They came out to the house. They were actually relatively very quick. I think they have like a timeline of they have to come out within like 30 days or so. They came out, they did a evaluation, and they evaluate all levels of development, all areas of development, not just the one that you're concerned in. And she actually didn't qualify by 2 points, but the team used their informed consent and actually approved her. And so I was so thankful that they did that, because she really needed help, and I really needed direction and help on how to help her. So that was a really good thing for us. At that point, she qualified for speech services. They came to the house once a week for an hour, and we learned a lot. The speech therapist worked with me on how to work with her. So about July of 2018, Olivine was about two and a half. At that point, we moved houses, and we also went on vacation. And that was a lot to take in for a little girl. I think it was very overwhelming, very stressful. This is when we started noticing a lot of those like very typical autism symptoms. She started lining up her like little figurines, alphabetizing her flashcards, like her ABC flashcards in alphabetical order and lining them up. She started running around our kitchen island. Lots of heightened sensory seeking behavior. She started jumping a lot more, like on the couch while she was watching TV, doing headstands in her crib. So just like a lot of unusual behaviors that I just kind of didn't know what to do about them, and I didn't know how to help her. So that was pretty concerning. And at this point, before this, we just thought it was a speech delay. And at this point, we were starting to think, well, maybe there's something else going on, and maybe it's not just a speech delay. So September of 2018 is when my son was born. His name is Jackson, and he is just so cute. But that was really hard for Olivine, and she didn't really understand what was going on. And she was almost 3 at this point. And she just it was like nothing changed for her, in the sense that like she didn't even really notice that he existed. But she did notice the fact that I was like not able to attend to her right away. I couldn't give her my 100% undivided attention all the time. And I think that was very hard for her, very stressful. And so during this time, we did notice a really big regression. And from everybody I've talked to, doctors, with the birth of a sibling, regression is something that is common with all children, even typically developing children. But it was scary. She stopped responding, like, at all. We couldn't get her to sign. One thing that early intervention had done for us was help her learn to sign certain things, and so she could start requesting what she wanted as far as like her needs. So during that time, she lost all of that. She wouldn't sign for us. She wouldn't respond. She was very withdrawn. It was very scary. We used to be able to like pull out a book and be like, oh, where's the cloud? Where's the sun? Where's the baby? And she would like point and attend. And at this point, she just like wouldn't respond. She was very aversive to books. She just didn't want anything to do with it. So it was very, very scary, very, very difficult time for, I think, our whole family. And this was when I really was like, I need to know what to do. I need to know how to help her. At this point, I was like, we have to talk to somebody about what's going on. Somebody needs to see her. We need to see if she has a diagnosis that could potentially get her some help. At this point, we still hadn't heard back from the developmental pediatrician's office. And so I just called around and found another company who would evaluate her. I wasn't gonna wait anymore. I needed help now, and she needed help. I found a company and they diagnosed her in January of 2019 with autism. And it's like kind of surreal. It's like, we knew that she had autism at this point. I was pretty positive, but when you have somebody affirm that and tell you like, yes, your child has autism, it's like you have to go through a period of like mourning. Because when you have a baby, you set certain images of how your life is going to be or what you're going to do or what things are going to look like. And so we kind of had to like go through the process of like, well, I don't know how things are going to look. I don't know what's going to happen. And I think the unknown is so scary with anything in life, but especially with your child, because we don't know anything with any child, but there are certain things that you can deduce. And a lot of things with autism is just, you just don't know. You don't know how things are going to go. So that's really hard. It's really scary. So when Olivine was 3 years old, early intervention stops at 3 and you are transferred to your school district. So she qualified for a developmental preschool that she attended 4 days a week, 2.5 hours a day. And so that was really beneficial for us. And that all kind of came about right during the middle of her regression. And so that, I think, was key to like bringing her out. And so we eventually did gain all those skills that we had back. She was starting to sign again and answer questions, request things that she needed. So that was such a relief to come out of that and still have those skills that she had had previously. And I really think that the developmental preschool and getting out of the house and being around other children and having like a teacher help her was really, really, really beneficial. So we received that diagnosis in January of 2019, and since then, Olivine has really, really flourished. She's definitely not online with her peers yet, but she is now requesting 1 to 2 words spontaneously without having to be like prompted or to like pull it out of her. She's coming up to me and saying that she wants a snack or a drink or whatever it is that she wants. So she wants a toy. So that has really made our lives a lot more manageable. Getting those like first beginning communication stages, I think, has done a lot. After our diagnosis, we did get into an ABA service, applied behavior analysis, and we did in-home therapy for 6 months, and now we are at a center-based service. And now that we have switched to a center-based service, I am just seeing her really grow. So I'm really, really excited. I think that this next year and a half is going to be very, very, very exciting for us. I'm really excited to see all the milestones that she's going to meet. So, some advice to parents who are concerned about their child's development. First, I would say trust your gut. You know your child more than anyone else. You know them more than the doctor, more than your mom, more than your friends. If you are concerned about your child, it's worth investigating. I don't know how many times people told me that she was shy, or that every kid is different, which is true. Every kid is different, and you can't gauge your child by comparing them to another child. But if I had waited, if I had, wait and see, if I had done that, I don't know where we would be right now. I don't know where Olivine would be right now. I don't know if we would be where we are, if we would be farther behind. I think for 95% of people, everything goes fine. Everything's perfect. And I think it's hard for people, when somebody's telling you that they have a concern about their child, they don't know what to say. And that's okay. And I know that they just want to make you feel better, but it's scary. And when you're concerned about your child, you just want to be heard. You want to be validated. You want people to listen to you. You as a parent have to do what's best for you and what's best for your family and what's best for your child. And you really have to just trust your instincts. If you think there's a concern, look into it. Ask questions. Never stop asking why. Never stop trying to find a solution to something that's going on. My second thing, make the appointments. If you're concerned and you get a referral and you've taken that step to pick up the phone and call, make the appointment. Chances are there's going to be a wait time. Thirdly, never give up hope. Even if your child does have a diagnosis, everything is going to be okay. You're going to get help. You're going to get your child services to help them, and things are going to progress. Your child will develop. Not every child is on the same path. Not every child is going to develop exactly the same, but getting help is the first step. You should never give up hope that your child is going to live a happy, fulfilling, wonderful life. And lastly, and I would say this is probably just as important as all the other ones, is find community. Being a parent of a child who has special needs is very isolating. It's very lonely, just because 95% of everybody else you know can't relate to you. They don't know what you're talking about. They don't understand the trials and tribulations and the successes and the wins and enjoying the little things. They just don't get it on the same level. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's why it's so, so, so important to find people who understand, who get how you feel, who can relate, who can congratulate you, and you guys can celebrate the wins together. What I did, I went on Instagram, I found my community there. And I may not be best friends with everybody that I talk to, but it's the little things. It's sharing something and getting somebody to acknowledge a win, or venting and having somebody understand how you feel. You just don't feel so alone. And I think that's really, really, really important. And there are other means of finding community, getting a support group in your area, meeting face-to-face, a Facebook group, YouTube. My hope for this channel is for people to find community, to find a place for information, for knowledge, to be able to have a frame of reference, or know somebody, see somebody who can understand how they feel, what's going on. So I really, really encourage you to reach out to other parents and find a person that you can tell everything to and who will actually understand exactly what you're saying. Thank you so much for watching Olivine's story. If you want to follow our journey, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be posting videos every week about Olivine's story, autism in general, tips, tricks, things I've learned along the way. So hopefully you can find some resources here, some community, and I hope that this is a place that you can come to when you're feeling alone, because you are not alone. And for anybody out there watching that doesn't have a child with special needs, hopefully you can find these videos informative and useful so that when you have a friend or meet somebody who has special needs, you can relate to them a little bit more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.